Hi, my name's Addison Huddy. I'm one of the contributors on the Apache Geode project. Last week we looked at Geode Native. It's a client for the Geode Native server, and it has both C++ and .NET APIs. Last week we looked at how to get started with the C++ APIs. Today we're going to look at the .NET side, and we're going to go from a basic dev VM all the way to compiling the client and building the examples all the way through. This is going to be a pretty long one because there's a fair number of steps to starting from basic VM, but we'll walk through step by step. I'm going to cut a bunch of stuff to make it shorter, but even with that, I think it's going to be pretty long. And there's also going to be a blog post attached to this that will have the steps that you can follow as well. So to get things started, here is the Geode Native. That's the video we made last week. The GitHub is here. We're going to be using this repo, but once we get into the VM. Here's the base image I'm going to start from. It's I'm going to be using VirtualBox and just build off of this. It's got a few things, Visual Studio 2017, a couple other SDKs, but we're going to build upon this. So I've already downloaded it, open it, and we'll build up our VM from here. So everything is fine there. We're going to bump all that up. Let's give ourselves a little bit more space. And we'll build up from here. All right, let's import that. Okay, now our VM is up. First thing we're going to want to do is install Chocolatey. So if you're not familiar, Chocolatey is a package manager for Windows. It's going to allow us to run a bunch of PowerShell scripts to get our dependencies installed. Cool. So here's an install script. Let's open PowerShell. Gonna run this as admin. Alright, so down below here there's a couple install options, but we're going to use this one. Go back here, and first thing we do, just make sure the get the execution policy is on unrestricted. So let's see what that is. Cool. So now we can just paste that in and install Chocolatey. Alright, so I'm going to use Choco. I'm going to install Firefox. Just to have it makes our life a little easier in the future, because we're going to have to go to GitHub and do some stuff. Sweet, we got Firefox. We're going to use that in a second. Next thing, let's do Choco install git. Alright, cool. So that's going. We can pop over here, open Firefox, and that's going to take us to, we'll need to get over to Git repo, and we're going to clone that. There we go. So the way that I get to the repo is I just search Apache Geode Native GitHub. And this is the repo that houses the Geode Native project, and it's going to be the source code that we're going to build. It includes the examples, the Packer scripts we're going to run. Everything you need is here. So let's just get this all teed up while Git is installing. Okay, so Git is now installed, and I opened up a new PowerShell so it can pick up Git on the path, and let's go into that workspace that we set up. And we're going to git clone this repo. Now that we have everything cloned, let's head over to where we cloned. Inside this, there's going to be a Packer directory. Inside that, Windows. And all we need to do is, there's a dependency PowerShell script in here, and we'll run that, and Chaco's going to install a bunch of stuff that we're going to need in order to get going with Geode and Geode Native. Now that that dependency script is installed and it gave us what we needed, you can go through and see all the things that it installed, but we're going to need all those to build. I failed to mention earlier, there's some Packer scripts if they can help build this image on some other platforms. So there's a lot of automation in those Packer scripts to help you get started. So definitely check those out. Don't just check out this one. Now we're going to need something, and we're going to need an older version of the Visual Studio C++ runtime. We're specifically going to need V40 toolsets here. So the trick I use to get this installed is I'll start an empty project. Would you like to remove this from the list? No. So let's get started with a new project. So create a new project. We're going to use, this one's fine by me. This is going to open up an installer, and we're going to be able to hop in here, look at hit a checkbox, and use the GUI installer to get what we need. If you know of a better way to open the Visual Studio installer, please let me know. This is the trick I've been using for a little bit to get things installed in Visual Studio what I need. Okay, so we're going to need to customize our install, and we can hop in here, and this is going to allow us in the Visual Studio installer to make the adjustments that we need. So in here, click on individual components, and specifically we're going to go down here and select the V40 toolset right here. So just hit modify, and that will install the particular toolset we need for the generator that we're going to use for CMake later. Okay, now that we have Visual Studio all updated, we have the V40 140 toolset in it. Close out Visual Studio. Next thing we're going to need is we're going to download a release of Apache Geode. 1.7 just came out, so we're going to grab this zip, download it from Amir, and unzip it. So I already have that going. Let's see where it's at. Alright, let's see if that finishes up soon. And then we'll set an environment variable. So that's done unzipping. Now we can go in here. Our workspace is what we have so far. So Geode Native, we have Apache Geode 1.7, and then we'll go in here and we'll set an environment variable. Let's do it on the system. So edit environment variables, system, new, and let's call this one Geode home. And we'll browse to a directory here, workspace. Okay, and that's where our Geode is. Okay, and for those of you interested, if you pop in this bin folder, we do have a the Geode release has a Windows batch file. More info, run anyway, and this will spin up gfish. Just if you're interested. All right, now the next step, we can start building things. Now that we have a Geode home environment variable that our compiler can pick up, we can actually start building this thing. So let's go over to CMD. Importantly, run the 2017. Even though we're going to use the 2015 generator, this is what we want to use. So let's go in our workspace and we'll go over to Geode Native, and we're going to run a few things. First thing we need to do is let's make a directory. Let's go into that directory. Then we're going to run cmake, pass in the generator. The generator that we're going to use is Visual Studio 14 2015 Win64. Host is an x64. Next is important. We're going to set the cmake install prefix to when cmake actually installs this. We're going to tell it to put it in a different location just to make life easier. So let's pass this to C. Put in the workspace again where we're putting everything, and let's put this in Geode Native install. Okay. For some reason it didn't like our generator. Let's double check, and 14.2015 is there with the architecture. Oh, that's not a thing. Let's try that again. So now CMake's gonna look at all this, pick up the generator, look for Geode because it's gonna need that for compilation, and set everything up. Now that CMake has configured our build, we can run cmake --build, build the current directory, and then we can just pass into cmake /m, and then Windows is going to do the best it can do to parallelize our compilation. So let's kick this off. Okay, now that we're done building, and that took quite some time on this little VM. Hopefully if you're not using VM, it will take a little bit faster, but job done. Everything's built. So Now we need to install it. So we'll tell cmake, and we'll do --dash build, and we'll target. First thing we do, we'll install the docs. Awesome. So docs are installed. I'll run a similar command, build, target, and let's just install the thing. So now we're actually installing all the client libraries, the examples, any of the impls that we use for interfacing with OpenSSL, things like that. And those are all getting installed in that predefined install location that we did in the build configuration step with cmake. Now that we have the Geode Native install folder with everything we want, all the DLLs, everything's there, we're going to create another environment variable. This one is going to be called Geode Native Home, and surprise, surprise, it's going to be that directory we were just looking at, workspace, Geode Native install. So that's Geode Native Home. Hit OK, hit OK. Alright, so job done there. Now let's open our command console back up, 2017. x64. There we go. And we're going to need PowerShell as well, because I'm going to copy some stuff over. Alright, so let's go here. Let's go to Workspace. Let's go to Geode. We'll go to Geode install. Next, we're going to copy item. That item is going to be the examples directory. The destination, let's create a new, we'll go up a level because we're going to edit this and we don't have to want to build it again, so that's why we're doing this. So C, let's put it in our workspace and we'll call this examples. And if put in recurse, so it goes through, copies everything over. Pop back up. Go into examples. So now we have this examples. It's got everything we want. Now, I prefer building it from here. So we'll go to workspace, and we want workspace examples. We're going to build the .NET examples. And we're going to follow a very similar pattern. So this is going to allow us to build the Visual Studio solution that we're going to open up, and then we're going to have some stuff in PowerShell and some stuff in Visual Studio. So let's make a directory, build. We'll go into build, and just like we did in the previous one, we're going to use the Visual Studio 14 2015 Win64 generator. That should be right. So let's have Visual Studio pick up all that and create all our CMake files. So it found Geode Native. That's exactly what we wanted to find, and we just have to run CMake -- build. All the files in here, and let's run it in parallel. Alright, now that's all built. Let's take a look at what we got now. So hop into workspace, go into examples, .NET, and what just built here? Build, there it is. So now we can open up our solution. That's exactly what we want to do. Alright, now while Visual Studio is loading, let's go to .NET, and we're just going to do the put get remove demo, and inside this we're going to have a start server script that we're going to run. So let's just get that all teed up. Alright, so the example that we're going to run is this put get remove. If we look at the program CS, really similar to things that we've seen in the past, but it's in C#. So there's a namespace, we have a class with a main method. We're going to use the cache factory to create a cache, connect to local a locator running on localhost on port 10334, and create a region and put some data and get some data out. The start server script is so first let's build this. So if we go up here, let's build. Alright, that is built. So now let's get a server going. So our locator got started, we started a server, and we have a region called example user info that we created. And we could hop in GFish and look at all this as well. So now we have this running. Let's go into our program. Let's select the example we want to run, hit start, and see what output we get. Cool. So we put some data, ran the example, and if we want, let's do that. Let's open GFish and just see what we got here, just because I'm curious. So let's pop over to Workspace, Geode, and let's run that. Let's hop on GFish. Let's connect. And let's run a query, just because. So query --query is equal to select star from, I think it's called example user info. Good deal. Got some results in there. This was a long video. There's a lot here. I wish the everything was larger and a little bit easier to read, but I hope it was helpful, and there's a lot more to come. Talk to you next week.